Hello students, this is Sanjeev Badhe from KJ Somaya Institute of Engineering and Information Technology. Welcome you once again to my channel. Hope you are getting benefited from these video sessions. If you like these video sessions, please subscribe to this channel. In this session, we will be discussing Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of parallel slits. An arrangement of n number of parallel slits is called as diffraction grating. To understand this session, again you will need some concepts from the single slit diffraction topic. So if you have not watched the session 1 on single slit diffraction, you are requested to go through it first. Let us revise single slit diffraction in brief. In a single slit diffraction, we made the parallel rays of monochromatic light incident on a slit of width A. We considered the light rays diffracted at an angle theta. These light rays merge at point P after going through the lens, and we tried to find out intensity of light at point P for a given value of theta. To find the intensity of light at point P, which steps we followed? Let us revise them again. We divided this slit of width A into n number of infinitesimally small slits of width dx. Each of this slit of width dx can emit only one wavelet at an angle theta. Each of these wavelet was represented as a vector. Length of the vector represents the amplitude of the wave, and the angle between the vectors represented the phase difference between the waves. So we found the phase difference between the waves which are diffracted from consecutive slits of width dx, and then we drew the vector diagram, and using that vector diagram we found the resultant amplitude of the wave disturbance arriving at point P. Intensity of light at point P is directly proportional to square of this amplitude. So this was the simplified vector diagram with the help of which we found the resultant amplitude, and resultant amplitude going at point P is given by E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha, where E theta is the resultant amplitude, Em is maximum value of the resultant amplitude, alpha is equal to pi by lambda A sin theta. So alpha here depends on the value of theta. The intensity distribution in single slit diffraction, you can see here, we get a central maximum exactly opposite to the center of the slit. This central maximum has the maximum intensity at the center, and the intensity decreases, we get a minimum, first minimum, again intensity increases, secondary maximum, again it decreases, second minimum, and so on. So this is how we get maximas and minimas which are placed on either side of this central maximum. You can see the central maximum is also spread over some distance, and intensity of this central maximum is not uniform. So what we will be using in our discussion at n number of slits is this result. What this result tells us? This result tells us that all the light waves diffracted from a single slit of width A can be replaced by a single light wave having the amplitude, resultant amplitude E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha, where alpha is equal to pi by lambda A sin theta. So this result we will be utilizing. So just remember this result. N number of parallel slits. An arrangement of n number of parallel slits is called as diffraction grating. So diffraction grating is nothing but an arrangement of n number of parallel slits placed very close to each other and separated by equal opaque spaces between them. This diffraction grating can be obtained by drawing large number of parallel lines on a glass plate with the help of sharp diamond tool. Each line acts as an opaque space, and the space between the two lines acts as a slit. Now if A is width of the slit, that is space between the two lines, and B is width of the line, that is width of the opaque space, then we can call A plus B as grating element. So grating element is equal to width of the slit plus width of the separation. So if there are n number of lines per centimeter, we can write n into A plus n into B is equal to 1 centimeter. Remember, A is width of the slit and B is width of the separation. So n into A plus n into B is equal to 1 centimeter gives us grating element A plus B to be equal to 1 upon n centimeter. So this is the relation between grating element and number of lines on the grating per centimeter. A plus B is equal to 1 upon n. Just remember this relation. We will be using this relation while solving the numericals. Let us consider Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of slits now. So for that, let us make the light rays, parallel rays of light, monochromatic light, to be incident on an arrangement of n number of parallel slits. So this arrangement of n number of parallel slit is called as diffraction grating. Let A be the width of each slit and B be the separation between the two slits, two successive slits. So this is B. Let us consider the light rays which are diffracted at an angle theta. So theta can be anything, it's a general angle, and all these light waves after passing through the lens arrive at point P on the screen. Our problem is same. We want to find out intensity of light at point P due to the light waves which are diffracted at an angle theta. So to find the intensity, we will have to find resultant amplitude of the wave disturbance arriving at point P, and we can say intensity is directly proportional to square of the amplitude, and we can get the intensity of the light at point P. To find the resultant amplitude at point P, we will follow the same approach as we have done in single slit and double slit case. What we did there, we have drawn the phasor diagram in which each wave is represented by a vector. Length of the vector is amplitude of the wave, and the angle between the vectors where the phase differences between the waves. Here we will simplify the problem by assuming that all the light waves diffracted from this single slit of width A can be replaced by only one light wave having the amplitude E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha, where alpha is pi by lambda A sin theta. We have proved this, so we can use this here. So all the light waves diffracted from this slit number 1 can be replaced by only one light wave diffracted from center of this slit. So S1 is the center of this slit. Similarly, all the light waves diffracted from this second slit can be replaced by only one light wave diffracted at an angle theta from the center of this slit, S2 being the center of this slit, and so on. So our problem is reduced to n number of waves diffracted from n number of slits. Amplitude of all these n number of waves we know. So to draw vector diagram, what do we need now? We need phase difference between the waves. So to find phase difference between the waves, what we will do? We will find out the path difference between them. So path difference between this wave S1P1 and S2P2 will be equal to S2K1, which can be written as S1 S2 sin theta. S1 is the center of this slit and S2 is the center of the second slit. So S1 S2 will be equal to A plus B, and therefore the path difference between this ray number 1 and ray number 2 will be equal to A plus B sin theta. Similarly, we can find path difference between S2P2 and S3P3. That will be again that can be found by drawing perpendicular from S2 to the ray number 3, and that is also obtained as A plus B sin theta. So we can generalize path difference between the light rays coming out of adjacent slits is given by A plus B sin theta. The corresponding phase difference can be written as 2 pi by lambda A plus B sin theta. We get phase difference by multiplying the path difference by 2 pi by lambda. So once we get the phase difference between the light rays which are coming out of adjacent slits, and the amplitude of all these waves also we know, E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha. We can draw a phasor diagram and we can find out the amplitude of the wave disturbance that is arriving at point P. So this is the same thing that we discussed in our earlier slit. What we did, we made the parallel rays of monochromatic light incident on an arrangement of n number of parallel slits, that is called as diffraction grating. We consider the light rays diffracted at an angle theta. These light rays merge at point P after passing through the lens. Intensity of light at point P will be directly proportional to square of the amplitude arriving at point P, and to find out the resultant amplitude of wave disturbance arriving at point P, we can draw a vector diagram in which the light waves can be represented by vectors. Length of the vector will be the amplitude of the waves, and the angle between the vectors will be the phase difference between the waves. To simplify the problem, what we did, we replaced all the light waves diffracted from a single slit by a single light wave diffracted from center of the slit at an angle theta, and this light wave has an amplitude E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha. This we have already proved in our single slit diffraction case, where alpha is equal to pi by lambda A sin theta. The path difference between the light rays coming out of adjacent slits also was found in the last slide, that was A plus B sin theta, and the corresponding phase difference can be obtained by multiplying this path difference by 2 pi by lambda. So corresponding phase difference will be 2 pi by lambda A plus B sin theta, and let us call this as 2 beta. So beta will be equal to pi by lambda A plus B sin theta. Using vector addition, we can find out the resultant amplitude of n number of waves coming out of n number of slits, and it is obtained as E theta equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha sin n beta upon sin beta. So here you can see again two factors. Em sin alpha upon alpha represents the effect of single slit, and sin n beta upon sin beta represents the effect of n number of slits, combined effect of n number of slits. This is a general relation now for any value of n. If you put n equal to 1, the problem will be reduced to a single slit problem. So if you put n equal to 1, this will become sin beta upon sin beta. So sin beta will get cancelled, and we will get the result for single slit, the resultant amplitude equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha. If you put n equal to 2, it will be sin 2 beta upon sin beta. So sin 2 beta is equal to 2 sin beta cos beta. Sin beta will get cancelled, and E theta will be equal to Em sin alpha upon alpha cos beta. So that is the amplitude in double slit case. So this is a general relation now for any value of n. The intensity is directly proportional to square of the amplitude. So intensity in case of Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of slit, intensity of light arriving at point P due to the light waves diffracted at an angle theta is directly proportional to Em square sin square alpha upon alpha square sin square n beta upon sin square beta. Alpha is pi by lambda A sin theta, and beta is pi by lambda A plus B sin theta. Once we get the relation for intensity of light arriving at point P due to the light rays diffracted at an angle theta, we can find out the conditions for maximum and minimum now. See, this intensity has got two factors, Em square sin square alpha upon alpha square, this is the effect of single slit, and sin square n beta upon sin square beta, this is the effect of n number of slits, combined effect of n number of slits. There will be maxima and minima due to single slit, and additional maxima and minima will be introduced due to this sin square n beta upon sin square beta. The conditions for maximum and minimum due to single slit we have already found. For maximum, for central maximum, alpha is equal to 0 or theta equal to 0 due to the single slit. For minimum, alpha is equal to plus or minus m pi, or which can be written as A sin theta equal to plus or minus m lambda. And then we will get secondary maximum for alpha equal to plus or minus m plus half pi. Now let us find the conditions for new maximas and minimas which are introduced due to combined effect of n number of slits, that is due to sin square n beta upon sin square beta. Now when the value of sin n beta upon sin beta will be maximum? Value of this sin n beta upon sin beta will be maximum when sin beta is 0, and sin beta will be equal to 0 when beta is equal to 0 or plus or minus m pi. So this will be the condition for principal maximum where m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. But when beta is equal to 0 or beta is equal to plus or minus m pi, sin n beta will also become 0 because n is an integer. Integer multiplied by an integer will be integer. So sin of n beta will also be equal to sin of integral multiple of pi. So its value cannot be determined easily. We will have to take help of limits in order to find the value of sin n beta upon sin beta when beta approaches to plus or minus m pi. So let us try to find the value of sin n beta upon sin beta when beta approaches to plus or minus m pi. So this can be found by differentiating the numerator and denominator. So this will result in limit as beta approaches to plus or minus m pi, n cos n beta upon cos beta. Now let us put beta equal to plus or minus m pi. So it will be n cos plus or minus n m pi upon cos plus or minus m pi. So this will have same value, cos plus or minus m n m pi and cos plus or minus m pi can be cancelled with each other, and we will get the value of limit as plus or minus n. Intensity is directly proportional to square of this. Therefore the limit as beta approaches to plus or minus m pi, sin n beta upon sin beta square can be written as n square. Thus when beta is equal to plus or minus m pi, the intensity is directly proportional to square of n. What is n here? Number of slits on the grating, that means number of lines on the grating. See, this n is different from the n which we have seen in the relation n is equal to 1 upon a plus b. In that case n was number of lines per centimeter, and in this case n is total number of lines on the grating, total number of slits on the grating. So remember this important point. So this is the condition for principal maximum. Beta is equal to plus or minus m pi, where m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So we got the condition for principal maximum in the last slide. Beta is equal to plus or minus m pi. Beta is nothing but pi by lambda a plus b sin theta, and therefore pi we can cancel, lambda can be taken on the other side, and the condition for principal maximum can be written as a plus b sin theta equal to plus or minus m lambda. Now minimum due to this factor will be obtained when sin square n beta is equal to 0 and sin beta not equal to 0. So sin square n beta will be equal to 0 when n beta equal to plus or minus m pi. But we require sin beta should not be 0, and therefore we will not consider the values of m where m is equal to 0, n, 2n. So these values are not considered for m. So condition for minimum is n beta equal to plus or minus m pi, where m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, but m should not be equal to 0, n, 2n, 3n and so on. So beta is nothing but pi by lambda a plus b sin theta. So the condition for minimum becomes n pi by lambda a plus b sin theta equal to plus or minus m pi. Pi can be cancelled, lambda taken on the other side, and the condition becomes n into a plus b sin theta equal to plus or minus m lambda. So this is the condition for minimum in case of Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of parallel slits. This condition is satisfied n minus 1 number of times between two conditions for principal maximum, and therefore there will be n minus 1 number of minima between two principal maxima. Between two minimas there will be one secondary maxima, at the center, and therefore there will be n minus 2 number of secondary maxima between two principal maximas. So let us try to see this in the graph on the next slide. This is the intensity distribution in case of Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of parallel slits. We can draw a graph of Em square sin square alpha upon alpha square, which will represent the effect of single slit. Then we can draw a graph of sin square n beta upon sin square beta, that represents the combined effect of n number of slits, and the final intensity distribution can be obtained as a product of these two graphs. So this is a graph for single slit. This is actually a central maximum for single slit. Then sin square n beta upon sin square beta versus beta. This is a maximum for beta equal to 0, beta equal to 1 pi, beta equal to 2 pi, beta equal to minus pi, beta equal to minus 2 pi. Between two principal maximas, in this case there are 1, 2, 3, 4 minimas. So this is a graph for n equal to 5, because we have seen there are n minus 1 number of minima between two principal maximas. In this case there are 4 minimas, so this is a graph for n equal to 5. Between two minimas you can see there is a secondary maximum, 1, 2, 3, n minus 2 number of secondary maximas are there between two principal maximas. The intensity of this secondary maximas is very less, negligible. So most of the time the secondary maximas will not be observed practically. When you take the product of these two graphs, we will get the final intensity distribution in case of Fraunhofer diffraction at n number of slits. So intensity of 0th order maximum, you can see it is highest, because this peak multiplied by this peak will result in highest intensity. In the first order, intensity reduces, though this is the same level, but for single slit diffraction the intensity of central maximum is reduced, and therefore this value multiplied by this peak will result in a peak, but intensity of this peak will be less than the intensity of earlier peak. Again in second order, intensity will further reduce. So this is the reason why intensity of the maximum reduces as the order increases. This is the actual intensity distribution obtained in the experiment. This is a stretched figure actually. You will get these maximas as sharp lines or sharp points. One of the important application of diffraction grating is to calculate wavelength of light. To calculate wavelength of light, we will make the light rays incident on a diffraction grating in the perpendicular direction. The condition for maximum is a plus b sin theta equal to n lambda, where n is an integer. When we put n equal to 0, theta will be equal to 0. So 0th order maximum is obtained along the same direction. When you put n equal to 1, theta will be equal to theta 1. So first order maximum is obtained at an angle theta 1 on either side of this central maximum, 0th order maximum. When you put n equal to 2, theta will be equal to theta 2. Second order maximum will be obtained in this direction. Now we can write the relation for lambda from this condition, lambda equal to a plus b sin theta upon n, and if you know n is equal to 1 upon a plus b, so lambda can be written as sin theta upon n into n, where this n is number of lines on the grating per centimeter. A is width of the slit, b is width of the separation, so a plus b is grating element. So what we will do is, we will perform the experiment with the help of spectrometer to find out the value of theta 1 and theta 2, and by substituting the value of theta here, theta 1 and theta 2, for theta 1 for n equal to 1, theta 2 for n equal to 2, we can calculate the value of lambda. So this is how we can perform an experiment and we can determine the value of wavelength of light using a diffraction grating. Okay, now we have seen the condition for maximum is a plus b sin theta equal to m lambda, where m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. The question here is, what will be the maximum value of this m? That means how many orders of principal maximum can be seen. To answer this question, we'll just rewrite the condition in terms of m. So m is equal to a plus b sin theta upon lambda. Maximum value of this m depends on maximum value of sin theta. A, width of the slit, which is constant. B, width of the separation, which is also constant. Lambda, wavelength of light, it is also constant. So maximum value of m will depend on maximum value of sin theta. So m max is equal to a plus b sin theta max upon lambda, and we know maximum value of sin theta is 1. So just replace this sin theta max by 1 and we can calculate the maximum value of m. So maximum value of m is equal to a plus b upon lambda. We know a plus b is equal to 1 upon n, and therefore we can calculate the maximum number of orders that can be seen in terms of number of lines per centimeter on the grating. N, this n is number of lines per centimeter on the grating or number of slits per centimeter on the grating. So maximum number of orders that can be seen depend on number of lines on grating per centimeter. Next question. What if we make white light incident on the grating? Instead of monochromatic light, let us make white light incident normally on the grating. And let us see what happens to the diffraction pattern. So to understand that, let us consider the condition for maximum, which is a plus b sin theta equal to m lambda, where m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. A is width of the slit, b is width of the separation between the two slits. So now the value of theta will depend on value of lambda for a given value of m. So when you put m equal to 0, for any value of lambda, theta will be equal to 0. So in 0th order maximum, all the wavelengths will be merged, and therefore 0th order maximum can be seen as white in color. If you put m equal to 1, then as the value of lambda changes, theta will change. And therefore in the first order we can see different colors, because theta is different for different wavelengths. For red color theta is more, for violet color theta is less. Similarly in second order also we will see different colors. So for m other than 0 we can see different colors. For m equal to 0, the maximum will be seen as white in color, because all wavelengths merge over there. So if you make white light incident on the grating, 0th order will be white in color, and other orders, first, second, third and so on, will be in other orders will be able to see different colors. We have seen the intensity distribution in case of diffraction grating is product of the two graphs. This is Em square sin square alpha upon alpha square graph, for which represents the effect of single slit, and this is sin square n beta versus sin square beta graph, which represents the combined effect of n number of slits, and final intensity distribution is the product of the two graphs. Now it may happen for a particular value of a and b that the maximum due to combined effect of n number of slits will coincide with the minimum due to single slit, and in this case this product maximum multiplied by 0 will result in 0 intensity, and therefore we expect a maximum over here due to combined effect of n number of slits, but because the minimum of single slit falls exactly at the same point, that maximum is not seen. So this is called as missing order, and in order to find the condition for absent spectra, we can write the condition for principal maximum, which is a plus b sin theta equal to plus or minus m lambda due to n number of slits, and condition for minimum due to single slit is A sin theta equal to plus or minus n lambda. Now if these two conditions coincide, that means for these two conditions if the value of theta is same, then the particular order of maximum will not be seen in the diffraction pattern. So we can get this condition for absent spectra by dividing this equation number 1 by equation number 2. Sin theta will get cancelled because the two conditions are coinciding at this angle. Lambda will also get cancelled, and therefore the condition we will get as a plus b upon a equal to m upon n. This condition is called as condition for absent spectra or missing order. As an example, if we put a equal to b, a upon b upon a will become 2, a plus a upon a, so that will be 2. So m upon n is equal to 2. This means if we put n equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on, m will be equal to 2, 4, 6, and therefore second order, fourth order, sixth order maximum will be missing, will not be seen in the diffraction pattern. So condition for absent spectra is a plus b upon a equal to m upon n. Here we have some more applications of diffraction. One important application is to find crystal structure. To find the crystal structures, X-rays are made incident on a crystal. Here we are using crystal as a diffraction grating. X-rays have got the wavelength of the order of 1 to 10 angstroms. So if we want to get diffraction with X-rays, we need a diffraction grating in which width of the slit is comparable to wavelength of X-rays. In a crystal, interatomic spacing is of the order of 1 to 2 angstroms. So this crystal can be used as a diffraction grating with X-rays. So when X-rays are made incident on crystal which is used as a diffraction grating, diffraction occurs and the diffraction pattern is recorded on the photographic film. So this is how the diffraction pattern will look like. By analyzing this diffraction pattern, the positions of maxima and minima, we can find out the nature of the structure, what kind of structure is followed inside the crystal by the atomic arrangement that can be found out. This is another application, holography, which is nothing but 3D imaging. So in holography, hologram is recorded on a photographic plate. So hologram is nothing but the interference pattern which is recorded due to the laser rays reflected from the object, different parts of the object and the mirror. So this interference pattern records the intensity of light and the phase difference between the light waves reflected from different parts of the object. In order to see the 3D image, this hologram is used as a diffraction grating and the same laser beam is made incident on it, and if you see in the a particular direction where the maximum is obtained, a 3D image of the object can be seen. One more use of diffraction grating is in spectroscopy. We have seen a diffraction grating can be used to separate the white color into different wavelengths. Prism can also do the same thing, but still gratings are preferred over prisms in spectroscopy because gratings do not absorb ultraviolet or infrared radiations. Such type of spectroscopes can be used to get information about the stars. Diffraction gratings can be used in monochromators also. Monochromators means only one particular wavelength is obtained as the output. So input will be given like this, which contains different wavelengths, and at the output we will get only one wavelength. Because the diffraction grating can separate the wavelengths, this one particular wavelength is separated and filtered. So this is how the monochromator will work. All wavelengths are given as input, but only one wavelength is coming as output. So these are also some important applications of diffraction grating. Okay, now let us solve some numericals based on the concepts that we have studied. First one is based on the missing spectrum or absent spectrum. which particular spectra would be absent when the width of opacity is double than that of the transparency in the grating. So here let A be the width of the slit, that is nothing but a transparency, and B is width of the separation, that is width of opacity. It is given that width of opacity is double than the width of transparency. So B is equal to 2A. So this is given to us, and we are asked to find out which maximum will not be seen. So to solve this problem, we will write the condition for maximum first. Principal maximum due to n number of slit occur for A plus B sin theta equal to plus or minus m lambda. So this is the condition for principal maximum. Minimum due to single slit. Condition for minimum due to single slit is A sin theta equal to plus or minus n lambda. Let us divide this equation 1 by 2. So sin theta will get cancelled, lambda will get cancelled, and we will get the condition for absent spectra, A plus B upon A equal to m upon n. So in this condition, if you substitute B is equal to 2A, then we can get m upon n to be equal to 3. This means that for n equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on, m is equal to 3, 6, 9 and so on. Therefore, third, sixth, ninth order maximum will not be seen. These orders will be missing. So, due to combined effect of n number of slits, these maxima are expected, but because minimum due to single slit also occurs at the same point, these maximas will be absent. This will not be seen. This is another one in which we will try to calculate maximum number of orders that can be seen. The problem is, for a diffraction grating having 15,000 lines per inch, how many orders of primary maxima are possible to see when sodium light is used as an incident radiation? For sodium, wavelength is 5893 angstroms. So in this problem, wavelength is given as 5893 angstroms, that is 5893 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters. N is given, number of lines per inch it is given. So we will calculate the grating element A plus B, which is equal to 1 upon n actually, but because n is given in number of lines per inch, we will divide this n here by 2.54, because 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, and we can get the A plus B in terms of centimeters. So A plus B is obtained as 2.54 divided by 15,000, that is equal to 0.000169 centimeters. Condition for maximum is A plus B sin theta equal to n lambda. So we can write the relation for number of orders, n equal to A plus B sin theta upon lambda. Maximum value of n will depend on maximum value of sin theta, because A, B, lambda are constants, and maximum value of sin theta is 1. So let us put maximum value of sin theta as 1. A plus B we have calculated as 0.000169. Wavelength is given to us 5893 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters. We can calculate the value of n max to be 2.87. But n has to be integers. So n is less than 3. We will not round here. N is less than 3. So third order is not seen. So the maximum number of orders that can be seen is 2. So this is the final answer. This is a similar problem again, in which we will find out how many diffraction orders will be observed. Sodium light of wavelength 5890 angstroms falls normally on a plane diffraction grating having 6000 lines per centimeter. How many diffraction orders will be observed? So this is a straightforward problem. Here the number of lines are also given per centimeter. So A plus B can be written as 1 upon n, that is 0.000167 centimeters. Wavelength here is given as 5890 angstroms, that is 5890 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters. Again we will use the condition for maximum. a plus b sin theta equal to n lambda. N is equal to a plus b sin theta upon lambda. Maximum value of n will depend on maximum value of sin theta, that is 1. So sin theta max is substituted as 1. A plus b is 0.000167 and lambda is 5890 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters. So n max is calculated as 2.83. So number of orders is less than 3. Will not round it off again. Number of orders is less than 3. So maximum number of orders that can be seen is 2. So 2 is the final answer, not 3. Remember this. We are not rounding it off. Okay, in this problem we will calculate the number of lines on the grating. Number of lines on the grating. Monochromatic light of wavelength 6560 angstroms falls normally on a grating of 2 cm width. The first order spectrum is produced at an angle of 19 degrees from the normal. What is the total number of lines on the grating? So here n is given as 1, first order. So n is equal to 1. Lambda is 6560 angstroms. So that is 6560 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeter. And theta for first order is given as 19 degrees. Condition for maximum is a plus b sin theta equal to n lambda. We are asked to find out n, number of lines. First we will find out number of lines per centimeter. So for that we will require grating element. So grating element a plus b is equal to n lambda upon sin theta from this relation. So a plus b can be calculated by substituting the values given. N equal to 1, lambda equal to 6560 into 10 raised to minus 8 and theta equal to 19 degrees. So a plus b is calculated as 2.015 into 10 raised to minus 4 centimeters. Now number of lines on grating per centimeter is given as 1 upon a plus b. A plus b is grating element which we have calculated, and number of lines per centimeter on grating is obtained as 4962.78. But what is asked is total number of lines on the grating. So total number of lines on the grating will be number of lines per centimeter multiplied by width of the grating. Width of the grating is given as 2 centimeters. So multiply this by 2, and the number of lines on the grating are obtained as 9925. So this is the final answer. This is one more problem to calculate number of lines per centimeter on the grating. Here we are not using monochromatic light. A diffraction grating used at normal incidence gives a line of 6000 angstroms in certain order, which is superimposed on the other line of 4500 angstroms of the next order. If the angle of diffraction is 33 degrees, how many lines per centimeter are there in the grating? So here we are not using a monochromatic light. The light incident on the grating contains two wavelengths, lambda 1 equal to 6000 angstroms and lambda 2 equal to 4500 angstroms. Theta is given as 33 degrees angle of diffraction. For nth order maximum of lambda 1, we can write the condition as a plus b sin theta equal to n lambda 1, and in the same direction we are getting n plus 1th order of lambda 2. So for n plus 1th order of lambda 2, we can write the condition a plus b sin theta equal to n plus 1 lambda 2. Now theta is same for both the conditions because the orders are superimposed on each other. So theta is same for them. So left hand sides of this equation 1 and equation 2 are same. We can equate the right hand sides. N lambda 1 equal to n plus 1 lambda 2, and from this we can calculate the value of n, which is lambda 2 upon lambda 1 minus lambda 2. That comes out to be 3. So once we get the value of 3, this value of n can be substituted in equation 1. lambda 1 is also known, theta is known, so we can calculate a plus b, and number of lines per centimeter is nothing but 1 upon a plus b. So number of lines on grating per centimeter is given by n, that is equal to 1 upon a plus b, that is equal to sin theta upon n lambda 1, that is calculated as 3025 lines per centimeter. So the grating in this problem has got 3025 lines per centimeter. This one is similar to last one. A diffraction grating used at normal incidence gives a line of 5400 angstroms in a certain order, which is superimposed on other line of 4050 angstroms of the next order. If the angle of diffraction is 30 degrees, how many lines per centimeter are there on the grating? So same problem as we have done on the last slide. Lambda 1 is given here 5400 angstroms and lambda 2 is 4050 angstroms. Theta is 30 degrees. So we'll write the condition for nth maximum due to lambda 1, that is a plus b sin theta equal to n lambda 1. Condition for n plus 1th order of lambda 2, a plus b sin theta equal to n plus 1 lambda 2. Because these maximas overlap, coincide with each other, theta will be same for them, and therefore we can equate the right hand sides and get the value of n. So here also n is obtained as 3. So here two wavelengths are given, 5400 and 4050, which should be lambda 1 and which should be lambda 2? The answer is here, lambda 1 minus lambda 2. So lambda 1 has to be greater wavelength, right? So from here also you can make out n lambda 1 is equal to a plus b sin theta and n plus 1 lambda 2 is equal to a plus b sin theta. Therefore lambda 1 has to be greater than lambda 2. So n is calculated as 3, and once you get the value of n, you can put it either in equation 1 or equation 2 to get the value of a plus b, and therefore number of lines per centimeter. Number of lines per centimeter is equal to 1 upon a plus b, that is sin theta upon n lambda 1. All the values are known now. We can substitute theta as 30 degrees, n as 3 and lambda 1 as 5400 into 10 raised to minus 8 centimeters, and we can get number of lines per centimeter as 3086 lines per centimeter, in this case 3086 lines per centimeter. So thank you for watching this session. If you like this session, please subscribe to the channel. Next session will be on resolving power of the grating. That will be the last session on diffraction. If you have any doubts, you can contact me on my WhatsApp number, or you can communicate with me through the Google Classroom as well. Thank you. Thank you once again.